Thank you. As I listen to the police sirens going by, I am reminded of the anxiety and fear that so many of our undocumented people in Connecticut and around the country feel simply because they see a policeman or they have to go to the courts in cases of domestic violence. And their fear is because the police have been turned into, many of them, instruments of immigration law enforcement. In Connecticut, we have said that our state and local police should do their jobs and that we must fight for the dreamers, for undocumented people who live in our midst in the shadows, many for decades, not just years, and that the federal government cannot commandeer our local police forces. They have a job to do. The ICE has its job to do, but our state and local police have their job. And among the people who sometimes express to me that fear and anxiety are, in fact, our dreamers, because they live with the unknown. They work hard. Many of them go to school or they have jobs, and they contribute to our communities. They have come here as children or even infants, and America is the only land they know. English is the only language they speak. Their friends here are their only friends. And justice would require that we say to them, we believe you belong here. But it's not just their interests that are served by enabling them to stay, it is America's interests, because they have so much to give to America. Their skills, their talents, their energy. They've been to school here. There are future nurses and engineers and doctors. And yes, lawyers, and even maybe justices on the Supreme Court, or congressmen and senators, if they are given a path to legal status and then to citizenship. The goal of comprehensive immigration reform is to provide a path to citizenship for the 11 million people who live in the shadows in this country. And I have long believed that we should insist on comprehensive reform rather than doing it piecemeal, one group by another group. But the dreamers face a real threat that has to be addressed now. It has to be addressed separately. It has to be addressed, hopefully, through a Clean Dream Act that will deal with their status and eliminate the kind of cliff that they face when 800,000 young people living in this country face deportation, simply because the President of the United States has put a target on their backs. He has put a target on their backs by lack of leadership and courage and moral belief. And in effect, he's kicked the problem to the building in back of me without much guidance or leadership. And now we must provide the leadership. And the good news is there's pretty broad consensus, bipartisan agreement that we must do something, and we must do it now. And if we can mobilize that bipartisan consensus, we can enable the dreamers to stay here. We can pass an act that gives them the legal status that will do it. And that's got to be our goal. That has to be our mission in the next 2 weeks, so that hundreds of thousands of dreamers avoid the chaos and confusion that's created by the rescission of DACA. I want to tell you about one of them, Carolina Bortoletto. I know her well because she co-founded Students for a Dream in Connecticut, and she came to a field hearing that I conducted, an emergency field hearing on the Dreamers. She testified about her situation, about coming here from Brazil when she was 9 years old. That was about 10 years ago. She's been to school in Connecticut. Even though she was undocumented, she got a degree and a driver's license. She applied for scholarships. And then 7 years ago, she graduated from college with a degree in biology. She is a smart, motivated, dedicated young woman. But then she was stuck. She had a diploma, but she couldn't use it. To fight for others like her, she co-founded Students for a Dream, and she testified at our hearing that finally she felt free and independent when she heard about DACA. She could be the person she wanted to be. She could achieve those dreams that are called the American dream, and she could contribute to our great nation. But she is stuck simply because the president has failed to keep the promise that America made to the Dreamers when they asked them to come forward and provide information about where they live and pay taxes and all of the other personal details of their lives. And America is betraying the trust they invoke from the Dreamers, and it's betraying American values. 80% of American voters support protecting the Dreamers with a path to citizenship, and that includes 69% of Republicans. The White House should listen to them, and certainly the Congress should, and I'm going to be part of this effort to say we should not go home, we should not leave here for any of the holidays before we pass a DREAM Act. That should be our mission, it's our obligation, and I'm going to fight for it. Thank you so much for being here today.